We're told that maturity comes with age, but this isn't always true. You may look older, have more responsibilities, and act more serious, but deep down you're just as childish, reactive, and selfish. I'm sure you all know at least one example of someone like this. Having a job, a spouse, and some kids does not automatically make you mature. Maturity comes from the lessons you've not only learned in your life, but also applied. Every time you have a setback, a challenge, an argument, or a heartbreak, you don't just sit there and complain or say to yourself, lesson learned, only to then keep doing exactly what you were doing before. You actually put effort into your growth as a person, so you can respond to life's challenges and the people around you with wisdom and care. And so real maturity is shown in how you treat others as well as yourself. And in this video I'm going to elaborate by breaking down 5 signs that you are emotionally mature. Accountability is a big sign of maturity, and it's also the number one thing that I tend to see in immature people. When you take accountability, you're showing that you're not selfish. You can own up to your words and actions without instantly defending yourself or shifting the blame. When you take responsibility for your behavior like this, it shows that you're considerate enough to know the impact you have on others. It shows that you're not afraid to admit when you're wrong because you value growth over your ego. Now, immaturity in this case would be when you immediately become defensive because you feel attacked or threatened when someone actually has a valid thing that they want to communicate to you, whether it's a complaint or a concern. But all you can do is keep arguing with them or think of rebuttals to avoid being in the wrong. You play the victim or shift the blame to avoid taking accountability. At the core of this is someone who is too immature to face the consequences of their own actions. Kind of like a child who misbehaves and then immediately starts crying or running away to avoid those consequences. Turns out many adults are like this too, and I'm sure you've experienced this. They only care about what they want, ignoring the impact they have on others. So if you are someone who is not like this, and you can admit when you're wrong and take steps to make things right, then you're already miles ahead in terms of emotional maturity. When you've been through tough times, as we all have, you know what it's like to want someone there for you who you can talk to. Even if it's just one little conversation where you can offload some of what you've been carrying. And when you have empathy, you understand that everyone feels this way at some point. You can step into their shoes and try to imagine what they're feeling, even if you don't totally understand where they're coming from. You don't just dismiss their emotions or try to compare their pain to your own, like someone who's immature. Instead, you offer patience, understanding, and support because you know just how much even one little small act of kindness can mean to someone who is struggling. Empathy goes deeper too. It's a skill that requires honing. It's about reading in between the lines sometimes, noticing when someone's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes, or when their silence speaks volumes. A mature person is present enough to pick up on these things and caring enough to act on them. This isn't something that you're born with or taught. Empathy requires you to set aside your judgments and feelings to truly focus on someone else. Immature people struggle with this precisely because they are too focused on themselves. Remember earlier when I was talking about accountability, how I mentioned that immature people struggle with it because they are selfish? Well, empathy ties into this too, because you can't be accountable in the first place if you don't care how your actions affect others. So if you find yourself naturally listening, understanding, and offering kindness to people who are hurting, then that's a sign that you are emotionally mature. Not only are you in tune with their emotions, but also your own. Speaking of emotions, we all know how easy it is to get emotional and react or make impulsive decisions. In fact, I don't think it's human to never have moments like those. But maturity isn't about not feeling, but learning what to do with these feelings. This means you are in control of your emotions instead of allowing them to control you. This one doesn't need a lot of explaining, I think, because there's countless examples of people out there who let their emotions dictate their actions on a daily basis. It's not hard to see, and actually it's quite common nowadays. But how many times has it actually benefited you or the people around you to get angry and start dishing out insults? When have you ever felt better by losing control of your emotions? How many of those decisions you've made whilst you were super excited or afraid or guilty have actually been good for you or the people around you? Maybe you've asked yourself questions like this before, or maybe you just find it silly when people make decisions based on their emotions, knowing that it almost always makes things worse. So if you find that you rarely have moments like these anymore, and you are generally in control of your emotions, then it's a good sign that you are maturing. Another sign of emotional maturity is that you are emotionally self-sufficient. You don't need the approval, opinions, or validation of others. Now I know that's easy to say out loud and you've probably heard it before, so let me explain. When you're mature, you can handle your own problems and emotions without relying on others. This doesn't mean you're arrogant or that you never accept help or advice. It means that you don't have to rely on other people to carry your emotional baggage and solve your problems for you. You've built up enough confidence in yourself to get through those hard times, make decisions without agonizing over them, and face your emotions. And no, I do not mean by bottling things up. What I mean is that you can process even your most painful experiences all by yourself. Being self-sufficient also means that you're not afraid to be alone. You don't settle for unhealthy relationships, and you don't feel the need to be around people all the time just because you're scared of being alone. You're totally comfortable in your alone time, and you feel like you can do anything. Just as you don't rely on others, you also don't blame anyone if things go wrong, because ultimately you take responsibility for your own life. At its core, being emotionally self-sufficient means knowing that you are enough. You don't need anyone to complete you or to give you validation because you've built that foundation within yourself. And that is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity. The fifth and final sign that you are emotionally mature is that you are able to walk away and mean it. In other words, you don't keep coming back. Whether it's from toxic relationships, situations that don't align with your values, or unhealthy environments. I'm sure you'll agree that this can be very hard to do, because walking away means letting go of control. It means accepting that no matter what you do and how much effort you put into some people or situations, you can't fix them. But maturity is understanding that staying in something that is damaging your peace, self-worth, or growth is a far bigger loss than leaving. You know that even though it's super painful and lonely to walk away sometimes in the short term, you'll be far better off in the long run. You don't have any concept of bitterness, revenge, or trying to prove a point to someone. You're only doing what's best for yourself without feeling guilty for doing so. If you have the strength to walk away and do this, then it's a great sign that you are emotionally mature. So these have been my 5 signs that you are emotionally mature in this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in my next one.